Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 490. This is our guide to the geek side. And I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. We are ready for some football, so get ready to be disappointed.
Get ready for disappointment.
Yes. Joined by Charlie Carden.
Yes, Star Trek Day. It is September 8th, 2024. While we're recording this, the 58th anniversary in the United States, as I learned, not in Canada, where it aired 1 or 2 days earlier, of the original Star Trek. The episode was called The Man Trap. Not the first episode produced, but the first episode aired. Had to do with the crew taking on a salt-sucking vampire. Todd, you've seen the episode, I'm sure.
Star Trek has too many days. They have like First Contact Day. They do this that day, that day.
They have 2 days. Star Wars.
They have 85 conferences, and they have like Star Trek Experience. They have that. Too many. Let's make it some fun. What is the one Star Trek day?
This one.
Okay, then we're not celebrating First Contact Day anymore. It's scrubbed.
Okay, gotcha. Well, let's get you online with CBS and see how they feel about that. Todd Oxtra, the People versus Todd Oxtra versus CBS, Viacom, Paramount.
Now Sundance. Skydance, yeah.
Sundance is a restaurant that's around here, and it's you remember it's the famous auto sales guy in mid-Michigan,
and it's a film festival in Colorado.
Right. Yeah. I can't believe how they would get away with it. But anyway, happy to have you here. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We have I'll come right out and say it. We have a pre-recorded segment at the end, because we talked to our friend John about the wrap-up of our summer movie wager, but we did it earlier in the week. So you'll see Todd and I's clothing will change. So I'm preparing you so that it's not this great shock where you fall just right out of your chair or crash your car. Not that you should be watching a car while you're watching video while you're driving a car, but I'm just saying.
Then the Geek Easy will be our Beetlejuice review. So instead of having bring a bunch of new things, that's what we're going to do there. So it's a little bit different, but it's a lot of fun. So
what's never different is when we give love and affection to the wonderful people on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. That's right. We call the segment Paying the Bills. But over on our Secret Friends Unite super awesome Patreon squad, which you can find at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, you have access to shows with no advertising, early shows, additional content, and just a lot of love and goodwill from your guide to the geek side. And we have coming up on September the 18th, if you're listening to this when it comes out, but if you're listening to this in the future, this is an ongoing fun segment. We invite all of our Patreons to do a recording with Todd, Mark, and myself, where we riff a bit, play some games, and just generally have a good time. Currently, that's September 28th at 8 p.m. Central.
No, September 18th.
What did I say?
28th.
Oh, well, don't show up then, because you will be disappointed. You'll be angry with me. So good catch. But anyway, some of those folks who will hopefully join us will be Chris 1H1D, who joined us last time. That was awesome. My friend Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude. Francie, who is my wife's awesome hairdresser here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, our friend Luke Lohr, and my awesome Uncle Tim Haran. Also on the Friends with Benefits level, John Sedorf, the fantastic Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, our friend Kelly and her partner Crayley, Brendan Myers, Quarian HD, and Matthew Keel. And at the top of the pyramid, the number one folks in the Secret Friends Unite pantheon of Patreon, the Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry, with us since the beginning. We love them, and we love all of you. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, 7 days for free. And I bet you'll never want to leave. Please don't leave us. We love you. Okay. Todd, you went with a strange one here. I almost want to let you, because you explained it to me.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know how I could explain it back again. So go for it.
Yeah. So in this week's We Got This Covered, I selected Marvel Superheroes number 90. So this is akin to Marvel Tales or Classic X-Men, where they would reprint old stories and try to get it
Right.
to people. Because back in the day,
Right.
reprints were hard to find. They didn't do a lot of reprints,
Well, you're talking
and
about
trades didn't exist.
back issues were hard to find. So if you're like,
Yes, yeah.
hey, I just started reading Spider-Man, but it's in the 100s, and what am I going to do?
Yeah. So this is a way to access those old stories, repackage them, resell them, but also experience them if you were curious about the old days. And this is the easiest way you could do it back in the day, quite honestly. So this is Marvel Superheroes featuring the Incredible Hulk. The cover is essentially, this is based on Avengers number 88. So they didn't even line up the issue numbers, but that's fine. On this cover, we've got the Avengers coming in with a cavalcade of weirdos. It says, "Hold up, Cyclops, release the Hulk, shrink him down any further, and you're one dead alien." And so we've got Cap. And he says, "This alien Cyclops, spelled Psyklop, you are too late to help the man-monster Avengers. Too late. The Summons of Cyclops, a Marvel masterwork of Harlan Ellison."
Whoa, okay. So Harlan Ellison, the controversial science fiction author, wrote what some consider to be the single finest episode of the original Star Trek, which would be The City on the Edge of Forever. But I think people most remember him for being kind of a cantankerous old fella, pretty much. That's his rep.
Yeah, he did write a lot of comic books back in the day. He's also known for I have no mouth and I must scream, a bunch of other things. Yeah, so but a grumpy old dude. He used to do a segment on sci-fi back in the day where he would do like Tales of Harlan Ellison, and yeah, you just like, man, he's an old.
It's like Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. All right, let me try to explain to you the Avengers that we're seeing here, just in case you don't know. The Goliath in the background is actually Clinton Barton, Hawkeye, because there was a time, you may not know, where he was Goliath or Giant Man. So he kind of gave up Hawkeye so he could shrink and he could do the growing thing, because Hank Pym was Yellow Jacket at that time. So
Pimp.
70s. Pimp. We have Tony Stark as Iron Man. Now you have a very miscolored Falcon, which was Cap's partner, Sam Wilson, who you obviously know from the MCU, because you see Red Wing, who is his Falcon. But you probably didn't know when the character started out, he didn't have wings. He had basically a kind of hippie looking vest over a bare chest, and that's kind of what we got going on here. The coloring is a little off.
Yeah, and Black Panther's in this book too, but he wasn't even on the cover. Yeah, it's weird.
And then of course Thor and Cap, and this was back during the period of time where Cap's mask had white eyes, kind of like Batman did, but that's not really the typical look. He didn't have little weird eye slits. But yeah, kind of a wacky tale. I've never read it, but you said this is. I didn't read tons of the Incredible Hulk comics myself, but the Hulk was really, and I guess all of my time growing up reading the Marvel Universe Guide, the Hulk comic introduced just a slew of super BC FQ level like villains and different characters. So I guess Cyclops was not one of them that kind of comes to mind for me.
Well, and this was, like I said, this was original Avengers number 88. This wasn't a Hulk comic.
Avengers 88, okay.
Yeah. So, and that was from March 1971. Okay. So yeah, Hulk was kind of like just showing up for the ride, I guess. Right. And this comic, Marvel Superheroes number 90, was May 6th, 1980. So
what a mess, Todd. It's as clear as Marvel Legacy numbering.
Yeah, I'm surprised Len Wein or Stan Lee didn't sue them for using Cyclops.
I guess. Well, it was all still more. Well, Stan Lee was still running.
Stan Lee.
Yeah. Would have been Len Wein, the inventor of Wolverine. Which,
he wasn't writing in the X-Men in 71, so I don't know who it was at that time.
Yeah,
I know. When maybe.
Dave Cockrum. Somebody who was driving the title down to being canceled.
Probably Dave Cockrum. Yeah,
because it was during kind of the dark times that the X-Men title was bi-monthly or quarterly.
Yeah.
Like they were trying
well, it was reprints at a certain point. I can't remember which last issue was. It was 70 something, I believe last issue was, and it came back finally as giant size X-Men.
Yeah, that's really rough. But anyway, somebody who knows about lack of popularity and consistency and reruns would be our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb, at 124 and a half years young. She's working for us these days. I think that she created a number of comic book characters back in her own time, which Todd will tell you about after the break, because he always comes up with something. But she's got the latest news and scoops for us, so let's go check her out.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. as Charlie mentioned, you own several copyrights for characters that nobody cares about, including Hagatha. You include Elmira, the mistress of the Dank, and you also own,
the dank.
yes, and you also own Aunt Marge, Peter Parker's other aunt that nobody talks about.
Oh, my personal favorite to leave is Mange Man, who is actually translated in modern pop culture to the Daryl Dixon character, Mange Man.
Mange Man. Old mangy. Oh,
Old
well.
Mangy. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Madam Web. Our first news story is, a character that has many lives, some ended with silver bullets, and that's the Wolfman. Wolfman. Wolfman is kind of another name. It's probably a realtor or a lawyer.
Marv Wolfman, like I always like to
Yes,
say.
exactly. Yeah.
Leo Spiderman, my dentist.
Yes, exactly. So we're getting a new Wolfman movie, kind of like the Dark Universe is coming back, because the director of The Invisible Man, which really enjoyed the last one,
that was
is directing.
There's Elizabeth Moss, right? Starting that.
Yeah, that director Lee Winnell is coming back to direct The Wolfman. This is by Blumhouse. It's going to essentially star Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, Matilda Firth, Sam Yeager, Ben Pendergrass, and Benedict Hardy. People I don't even know who they are, except for that one girl you're going to tell me she's in Ozarks, and she says something.
But I was also, her expression, cover your ears, I won't say the bad parts, I don't know, S about F. It's her famous expression.
Yes, I think she's, yes.
If I can break in here, Lee Winnell is an Australian, hear about him, talked all the time, but he also is an actor and was in the Insidious films. He was one of the two dudes. There's two dudes in that film. There's the heavyset guy with the beard, and then there's the skinny guy. And unless I'm mixing things up, and double check me on socials, people, if I get this wrong, but I believe if he's not in that movie, what's the other one that's not Insidious, but it's with the Warrens? Remember it's
yes.
It might be in that one. He is in one of those two movies as a recurring character, so he's also in
those movie series. I like. Yeah, I know one is about the Warrens. The other movie is a thing about something. So
yeah,
they're very popular.
It's got Lynn Shay in it. Lynn Shay is in the other one that's about the Warrens. Yeah,
good to know. But in this movie, San Francisco husband and father Blake, played by Ben Abbott, inherits a remote childhood home in rural Oregon after his father vanishes and is presumed dead.
Oregon.
With his marriage to his high-powered wife, Charlotte Fraying, Blake persuades Charlotte to take a break from the city and visit the property with their young daughter Ginger. However, when the family arrive, they're attacked by a mysterious creature and barricade themselves inside the home. As night stretches on, Blake begins to behave strangely, and Charlotte will be forced to decide whether her husband is more dangerous than the creature outside. This film arrives January 17th, 2025. Much like The Invisible Man was also a early year release.
Right.
And this looks like it's going to be very creepy. Once again, go to a cabin remotely. Nothing good happens.
Well, and as I said, the dead giveaway, because it was the same way with, what was it? The Strangers Part 1, the remake of The Strangers. Oregon. Sorry, our very good friend John lives in Oregon. No, excuse me, he lives in Washington State.
Lives in Washington. Yeah.
So he's
close enough to Oregon.
Yeah, it's he's just across the river from Portland. One of my cousins lives in Oregon. Another one just moved back from there. Lots of bad stuff happens in Washington and Oregon. We just watched The Ring last night because we started our spooky season movie watch. That's all in Seattle. It's just like, what's going on, Pacific Northwest?
Well, the ironic part is, in Minnesota, cabin culture is like 90% of where people are at in the summer in Minnesota.
Right.
So why aren't there more of these movies made in Minnesota? Because cabins in Minnesota. Well, Charlie, I lived in Michigan. By far, Minnesota's a cabin culture far more than that because it's the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah,
it's the land of 10,000 lakes. So every lake has like 85,000 cabins. So where are you going? Going to the cabin.
So 10,000 times 85,000 is, do some quick math for me. How many cabins?
85 billion D.
11 billion, which is my favorite made up number.
So we have not seen what this wolf man looks like, but I'll be curious if they go with more wolf than man, or
Right.
guy with a very like me. If he looks like me, I haven't shaved in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Lumpy.
Now,
Yeah.
the last big Wolfman outing, not obviously counting what Marvel did with the Werewolf by Night, which is a comic book character, was Benicio del Toro. Was that in the early 2000s? I never saw it.
Let's see. I'm looking up the IMDb franchise, which it's hard to tell. The last film was The Wolf Man by Joe Johnson. That was a remake in 2010.
There we go. 2010.
But I don't know. I mean, if you make a Wolfman movie or a movie about a werewolf, there's a lot more of those. But if it's officially
Actual
werewolf,
Wolfman.
the Wolfman, there's only like 8 movies.
Oh boy, that's on the low end
Like,
for something
focused on him, but he's been another character. I mean, Wolfman showed up in an Abbott and Costello film, so it's like, yeah.
So are we saying that there's a danger that he's kind of Boba Fett? Maybe he's a great ensemble character, but maybe not a lead character. I don't know.
I don't know. I think the major difference is if it's a Universal feature film, it is tied to the, that specific character mythos versus other ones where it's just werewolf guy.
Werewolf guy. Well, I'm excited, and we enjoy these kinds of movies, so I have no doubt that we'll be.
Oh, I got it, Charlie. It's either Wolf Man or Wolf Guy. So Wolf Man is the Universal character. Wolf Guy is the non.
It's just some cranky teenager.
Yes.
All right, moving right along. We have I'm sorry. This is who Batman's next villain will not be.
Yes.
and Matt Reeves's sequel to The Batman with very Robert Pattinson. Director Matt Reeves has shut down rumors that Batman will face the spirit of the dandy highwayman, which would be Gentleman Ghost, in his next movie.
I love it. Yes.
I'm definitely due a rewatch of that movie because I remember very little. What I remember off the top of my head is that I was not terribly fond of the incarnation of the Catwoman with that mask. Really threw me off. It was just, but you know what? As far as homemade looking costumes, best effort to make something look homemade since the Spider-Man in Homecoming with the Scarlet Spider version that Tom Holland's character wore before he got the fancy suit from Tony Stark. I'd say.
Yeah, I'm guessing Zoe Kravitz didn't have a personal tailor for her outfit.
Right.
Like the Anne Hesh one, which was it was just like little goggles that came down and went back up. So that was
it was all leather
suit.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in this instance, Matt Reeves is like, he doesn't have room in his vision for Batman for full fantastical characters. So like Gentleman Ghost, Clayface,
Condiment Guy,
Man, Condiment King, Killer Croc. There's a variety of just like otherworldly characters that he's taken on. But in the movies, we typically only get like
the core.
Slightly off people in a different suit. Because I mean, we got the Riddler who looked like a weird serial killer. We got a future look at potentially the Joker played by Barry Keoghan. We did get, like you said, a very made up not Anne Hesh. She was the other Catwoman.
Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe. Yeah. So at this point, they haven't announced who the next villain will be. Obviously, the Joker was shown at the end in a weird, like, deleted scene or unreleased scene. So Charlie, because of this, wants to keep it straight, wants to keep it, more grounded. We obviously have the Penguin, who was introduced to Joe. He's getting his own TV show as well.
Yeah, so leave that one alone, I think. So you really have to look at what's left in the main pantheon of the Rogues Gallery. Harley is better as a side character as far as it, because she's not much of a mastermind. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't really pin it on her. Plus, do we still have Margot Robbie playing the role? Is she done with it? Because obviously Lady Gaga is taking it on in the Joaquin Phoenix universe with Joker.
She could come back, but even Kaylee Cuoco plays her in the animated series.
So I would put this one out to the masses who listen to our show. Add us over on Threads. I'm trying to think of what's your pick for a main line character, because I feel like they've touched I mean, and again, I'm not a hardcore Batman guy, so if I'm missing one, let me know. But is there a hardcore non superpowered name recognition Bat villain that was not touched by that first film? I'm
Um,
struggling. I'm struggling. I can't think
yeah, I
of
mean,
one.
I can give you a couple of ideas. I mean, we have potentially the Mad Hatter. You could play around with like psychogenics,
Right.
mind control, things like that.
Well, yeah.
Scarecrow was in the original Batman Begins.
Right. The
Um,
is it the Killer Moth has a suit a la Iron Man? That's not really extra worldly. It's tech. So
Correct. Black Mask is another gangster
Red
who
Hood, yeah,
shows up.
Red Hood, which was an earlier version of the
Yeah,
Joker.
that would have to bring in
Yeah,
Robin, which I don't think they're going down that route. We have
yeah,
Calendar Man, who was part of the
yeah.
dark.
But
Uh,
I suppose that one seems a
he's a
little.
serial killer that kills on holidays, so I mean, it's
Oh,
not
okay.
like he has supernatural
Who
abilities.
was? What about Hush? Hush is a good one.
Hush,
And
you'd have to like because he was basically a friend of Bruce
right,
Wayne,
yeah,
was
he was
a
a
surgeon.
doctor. Yeah,
Uh, Tommy Elliott. You have Mr. Zsasz, who is
there
essentially a
you go.
weirdo serial killer with slashes his bodies. You have Hugo Strange,
There you
who
go.
is basically a psychiatrist at Arkham.
Yeah.
The ventriloquist, you could go there because he just is kind of crazy, and the Scarface dummy is him
Mhm.
speaking through him. So
So,
yeah,
I mean, if you boil it down outside of the characters like, Killer Croc or the Clayface, or any of the ones that are like, I fell into a vat of chemicals and blah, blah. Everybody else, they're serial killers and they're nutcases.
Man Bat, Mr. Freeze.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Where those guys aren't explicitly, they're driven like, I've got to, Mr. Freeze, I have to save my wife because she's frozen.
yeah.
And the Man Bat was an experiment gone wrong or something it is. And again, I apologize, listeners, because I am not the dyed in the wool Batman guy. I mean, I'm sitting right across from my Rogues Gallery of Spider-Man villain, the figures, and I could pick one. I could pick ones out of there. And I'm like, well, if they don't want to go a metaphysical one, you could pick Tombstone, or you could pick Hammerhead, or
Yeah.
the Tarantula. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, with 85 years of or more of history under his belt, Batman's coming up on it's just about 85 years. Would it come out in 1939? I think was his death
39.
27. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's got to be somebody, but again, in a film, to me, I would imagine they'd be going for a little more name recognition. But there have also been all these Batman franchises before. Bane, there you go, Bane.
Yeah, I mean, he talks like this. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I mean,
that
I
might.
love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It might, but it might make it more challenging because maybe they're trying to stay away from any kind of comparison. But they did go with the Riddler, which was of course Jim Carrey back in the '90s, and went in a
You've,
totally different direction.
yeah, you
Yeah,
reinvent it like that every time the Joker gets reinvented. So you can go down that path of a character
yeah,
and just yeah, but nobody's going to have superpowers. No, there's going to be no like weirdo like Man Bat. It's going to be
right,
probably just a different version of him. But you know what?
right,
We'll
right.
see. That movie feels like it's been a billion years since it came out. So I do need to rewatch because
Yeah,
I saw it in the
very true.
crappiest movie theater in the world.
Oh, that's right. I remember you said you saw it in a bad theater, and you were kind of butts to nuts, and yeah, it was just not a good
It was bad.
experience.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was I remember for me it was a later showing on a Friday night. I had just gotten off the road and I conked.
Recipe for sleep for Charlie.
Yeah,
Yes.
big time, big time. All right, so the Duffer Brothers are coming back, and 15 years from now, when we see that last half of the final season of Stranger Things, I mean, those kids are all out of college by now, aren't they? I mean, none of them are younger. That show came on in 2012, 2013. When did Stranger Things come out? It was a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago. Because yeah, I think let me see, Stranger Things, probably like
Yeah.
2019? No, older than that. 18?
Yeah, 17 or 18. I'm feeling like, yeah, it could have been that.
2016.
Wow, 8
Yeah.
years. Yeah,
Yep.
so those kids, and they were all, preteen characters at that time, maybe a little younger. So yeah, they'd all be grown. But and you can't get away with not aging characters like on The Simpsons because they're
No,
real people.
no,
But
you
anyway, yeah, the
can't.
Duffer Brothers. Now, here's a question: what did those guys do before Stranger Things? Or was that their like, boom, we bust on the scene with Stranger Things? I almost think that was it. I mean, it
I
could be
think if
wrong.
they were probably either writers, then maybe they directed some other things that maybe
Yeah.
got them to get a script in. Wikipedia, they were born in 84.
Okay. It's the 40.
They might
They're
be
now
twins. I guess
40
they're twins,
somethings.
so that makes
Oh, okay.
sense. And beyond that, their filmography, they did some direction of something called We All Fall Down, Eater, Abraham Boys, Road to Moloch, Vessel, and they did a thing called Hidden. And then
Nothing.
before that, Fear Street. They directed Fear Street Part 1, 74 or 94 and 78.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no,
All
they got a
right.
special thanks in those, so they had nothing to do with it. So yeah.
Ooh, yes. Very special thanks, which is weird. But anyway,
Oh, Wayward Pines. They did Wayward Pines
there we
before
go.
they were
That was
writers.
great.
They
That was
were
great.
writers. So yeah.
So this was their breakout project. This is the only this has put them
Correct.
on the map, and it was a runaway success on Netflix, which is what this says. They have a follow up for Netflix called The Burrows, and yeah, that was, and the main cast of which was announced recently. And we got some big names: Alfred Molina, Gina Davis. We had to see her make a comeback. Alfre Woodard, Dennis O'Hare, which I recognize the name but can't picture the guy's face. Clark Peters and Bill Pullman. I did see this and I was like, I was really sure Bill Pullman was dead, but I always get him mixed up with the guy which is
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yeah, exactly. And I think of how feeble Bill Pullman's President Whitmore character was in the second awful Independence Day
He was
movie.
feeble?
Yeah, he was enfeebled. Did you never see it? I bet you
The
never
second
saw
Independence Day? No,
Yeah.
no. Why would I? Why would
Yeah,
anybody, Charlie?
You know what I did, and this was a movie I'll never forget. I saw it with April, and my mother was in town, and the credits rolled, and she said, "Well, that was 2 hours of entertainment."
Well,
I was
even
like,
entertainment is
yeah,
stretching it. That was 2 hours
yeah,
something.
it was 2 hours. It was 2 hours content. But anyway,
Yep.
Ben Taylor has agreed to sign on as EP. Not sure who he is. But what is it about?
So, in a seemingly picturesque retirement community, a group of unlikely heroes must band together to stop an otherworldly threat from stealing the one thing they don't have: time. It is retirement Stranger Things.
Gotcha. So, yes, you're right, because let's face it, Molina, Davis, and Woodard are and Pullman, no spring chickens. So this is Cocoon meets Stranger Things, maybe?
I mean, I think, and that's kind of a good way to approach it. So now you're probably not dealing with a nostalgia piece, and you're also dealing with, mature actors and how would they behave versus kids. Because you always say, like, kids' imagination means they're more likely to believe something than someone older. So now you've got people maybe skeptic in a time where they're like, I'm, grinding out my years, things like that. And how do they manage against something a little bit beyond belief? And maybe they think they're all having Alzheimer's issues.
Right. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. So I'm scrolling down, looking to see if there's nothing about when this is being produced. But one would imagine, if the cast has been announced and the inception of production is soon. I don't know. What do you? There's nothing in here that says when it's being made.
No, I'm guessing we'd see this in 2025, 2026.
Yeah. So yeah,
they still have to get out Stranger Things season 5.
Which do we have a date for that? Because I don't feel like we.
That is coming out, I believe, early 2025.
Okay, gotcha. So this is probably 12 to 18 months away, which is good. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it definitely sounds cool and exciting. So I like it. All right. Well, this was some great news. I'm excited about this. Todd, you and I both loved WandaVision, correct? I know it was April's favorite.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yep.
It was April's favorite of the Disney Plus shows. Well, that show ended with an homage to the rebirth of the Vision, which happened in the West Coast Avengers comic book title, one of my favorite, back in the 1980s, where the Vision was disassembled and reassembled, losing his traditional colors and his emotions, and coming back as a white as a ghost, a la the Vision, blank slate. In the final couple of episodes of WandaVision, he and the imaginary Vision that was a part of that show tussled, but they ended up joining minds, which meant all of the thoughts and experiences, et cetera, you would assume, of the imaginary Vision were downloaded into the new blank slate Vision, and then he took off. And that was in 2021. And we have absolutely no idea where he went and what he's doing. Well, this program, which
that was 2020, wasn't it?
21. It was their first show in early 2021. Yeah.
But I thought that was in 2020 because that's when COVID happened.
Yeah, this was happening when the world shut down. So it was I'm almost certain early
It was
2020.
January 2021. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the world shut down on March 17th, 2021, as I recall. So anyway, this is
No. Our world shut down in 2020 because 2020 was the year the
oh,
world
you're
stopped.
right. Okay, so this was closer to the tail end. Okay, I got
Yeah.
my wires crossed. So anyway, the series has added its first star, which means that it is quite a bit of a way, and actually two, as we'll go on to say, it's quite a bit away from actually going behind counters. But we're getting a celebrity that I have met more than once. Actually performed a group wedding ceremony on the Star Trek cruise in 2023 that April and I were a part of. Todd Stashwick. Midwestern native, Chicago boy, who has starred in 12 Monkeys, which I've got to get around to watching because I follow him on Instagram. He promotes that, and he promotes his role in Star Trek Picard. In season 3, he was the very grumpy Captain Liam Shaw, who was the commanding officer of 7 of 9, and just an awesome part of that season. But yeah, he's joined the cast of this in a mystery role. And it's subsequently announced that it said it added his first star. They're not counting that James Spader was previously announced as Ultron returning. And Todd, you and I were riffing about this in the B-roll, and we ultimately concluded that while Age of Ultron, which was in 2015, so it's even further in the past in the continuity of the MCU, because remember there was a gap 5 years. So currently in the MCU it's really 2026 or 2027, so it might be their 2028 or 2029 when this comes out, so well over a decade that Ultron has just been chilling on. He's been hanging out on somebody's external hard drive or in the cloud or just on somebody's laptop, and they push a button and hey, we got Ultron. Because the what they were trying to go with at the end of that film was that he died altogether. He was the very last copy of him was wiped out. Well, in comics, the villains never really die, but in the MCU, they always do, almost always. So yeah. So this is like I said, we're stacking up the talent, and obviously returning is Paul Bettany as Vision, because how the hell are they going to have a show about the Vision? The show does not have an official name, being referred to both as Vision and Vision Quest, which was the
Vision
name of the
Quest. I think
that was the name of the arc by which the White Vision was first introduced, and again written by John Byrne back in 1989, I think, in the West Coast Avengers titles, which is one of my favorites.
And stolen from the film Vision Quest,
right?
With Matthew Modine.
No, Matthew. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Matthew Modine got cast in this as well?
And Linda Fiorentino. So yeah, and Ronnie Cox.
I think, Ronnie Cox, believe it or not dead, but extraordinarily
very old.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes.
Ronnie Cox, ironically, another dickhead Starfleet captain, Edward Jellicoe, from a two-parter of Star Trek The Next Generation. So look at all these of course, that's not an actual connection. I just made it up. But anyway, I'm fired up. I'm fired up by this, but I have no illusions that it'll be at least 2 years before we see this.
I think 2026 is when this is held off. Yeah. Disney is apparently going to no more than 2 TV shows of Marvel, and at this point I think we're getting 2 movies, so that's going to be harder. I think Star Wars is going the same post. Like there's no more than 2 Star Wars shows and maybe a movie every year.
I mean, they tried it, and it was a series of diminishing returns. People were like, plus the content they were cranking out.
Well, they stopped making movies is part of the problem too.
Yeah. But with Marvel, what they were turning out, I mean, Secret Invasion. I'll never watch Secret Invasion again. It was absolutely dreadful. And with the Star Wars, I'll probably never watch the Acolyte again. And again, we talked about that. And now I didn't include it in this, but I think I shared a post with you and John. All of the Acolyte merchandise has been yanked from Disney stores, so they're really trying to pretend it doesn't exist. So that's sad for people. For people who enjoy that show, I feel bad for you. What I don't feel bad for, as we said last time, is that not many people enjoyed that show, which is why it got canceled. Sorry. I know I'm on a Star Wars show. I'm not aware of that.
No. And Disney, as we know, is going to be in a thing. But at this point, we are supposedly getting next after Agatha All Wrong, which is September.
Did you say Agatha's All Wrong?
All Wrong, yes. All Agatha All Wrong. Eyes of Wakanda. We still don't have a date for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil Born Again, and then Ironheart. So this would be, like I said, if we get any of these other shows in 2024. Then we get Daredevil in 2025,
Right.
Ironheart 2025. So then Vision Quest 2026.
Right.
And then, who knows?
Yeah. I'll look
Marvel
forward to seeing
Zombies,
it.
Wonder Man, What If Season 3, and then an untitled Nova series. So
Well,
much there.
I feel like What If Season 3 was at least in the canon. When you say 2 things a year, is that meaning 2, maybe it could be more than that if you split out animated versus live action? Or
I think it is. I think it becomes like MCU and then animated something.
Right. So that gives them the chance to stretch it. And you know what? Good idea, because again, this rush to create has not resulted in a lot of great creativity. You know, we've ended up with some duffers. No offense to the Duffer Brothers, sorry, because you guys are great.
Yeah. We need more X-Men 97 quality entertainment.
And less Book of Boba Fett. So,
correct.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Yes.
All right.
So
yeah. But yeah, that's final thoughts. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this will be a cool show. I just worry about the budget to make this happen. And I also worry that this will be not a lot happens for 6 episodes, and then the final big bad comes in, they have a big battle. Like WandaVision. I mean, at least that was interesting.
Yeah.
This one I worry about, and maybe, Charlie, they will revisit and do the Vision comic book with the Vision family.
Oh,
which would be great.
I feel like that's kind of what WandaVision was like.
But I think it's the same approach. Like, this White Vision is trying to figure out his sense of normality.
Gotcha.
And maybe.
Well, you know
maybe
what?
I'm wrong.
Maybe he works in a coffee shop and it's like Friends. Who knows? But yeah, because you're right. There's no great template because the White Vision just kind of reacclimated into being a part of the team, and he gradually rediscovered his humanity, but did not get back together with the Scarlet Witch. And much like in WandaVision, they had kids who were imaginary. Because it was all part of, she created them with her hex power. So anyway, we will.
And Stashwick, and they did mention his role. Stashwick, his role is going to be an assassin on the hunt for basically the Vision technology. So maybe he's the Reaper.
Well,
and they just don't have an attachment to any of that crap.
I was going to say,
sorry.
The first part of the article said he was in a mystery role, so I guess I didn't read far enough. Whoops. But yeah, the Grim Reaper that you mentioned was actually Wonder Man's brother. So
I don't think they're going to go there, Charlie. That's a lot of heavy lifting.
Well, I know, but you just said Reaper, so I'm like, who
well, that's what I'm saying. He's at least a character they could pull from like somebody's Vision, like a Vision associated character.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, could be. Well, yeah, and the weird connection was the Vision and Wonder Man shared the same consciousness, because all of the Vision's brain patterns were taken from Wonder Man, and the Grim Reaper was his brother. So it was a whole thing. But anyway, that is the end of the news. So now it's time to get out that Fuber app, that feeble Uber app. We are due downtown at the Geek Easy, where we're doing our spoiler cast of Beetlejuice this week. Here comes the cab. It's especially disgusting when I see exhaust pouring out the side, the windows look broken, and I hear the AM radio playing. And as always, I hear this advertisement.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on in a change of our normal events. We have
normalcy.
Yes. So we are doing our essential spoiler cast for Beetlejuice in the Geek Easy this week, as you get bonus content in the Thunderdome, which is our movie wager recap. So stay tuned for that with special guest Jonathan Cyr Jay Cyr. Whatever Jay. John goes by these days.
Yeah, I think he goes by Jay. We know him as Jonathan. He's been on the show.
We first knew him as John.
We first knew him as John. Yes, we did.
So,
yes, we did.
Yes, so, but there we go. So look forward for that. But we are talking about the first movie of the fall season, even though we've got 2 weeks till fall, and that is Beetlejuice, the long-delayed sequel of the original Beetlejuice movie in 1988. And no, I put a gap in there so it doesn't count for 3 times
there you go.
for the title. Yep.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so essentially this is the long waited for sequel that we never thought would actually happen. We're bringing back a lot of the main players, including the director and Danny Elfman. new writers on this,
Right.
including Alfred Goh, Miles Millar, and Seth Graham Smith, but Tim Burton did not write this.
Right. I, curious as I was, went to the Wikipedia entry, and maybe I kind of combined that up with IMDb. They wanted to start producing a sequel to this in 1989. Which
Yes.
Tim Burton then quickly moved on to doing Batman, and then the legacy of it, every 3 to 4 to 5 years, somebody else had an idea, and this person got involved, and then this person was not involved, and Michael Keaton said, "Well, if it's not done by Tim Burton, I'm not doing it." And so, yeah, back and forth and back and forth. I don't have it right in front of me, and I don't. You know what? I encourage you to simply go to Wikipedia and read it yourself, because it's a tale that is as epic as this film. It's just
Yeah.
it's very long and storied. It's almost as
Yes, the
long
origin-
as Beetlejuice's own backstory, which we do learn about in this movie, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, the original idea for the sequel was supposed to be Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
Right.
It was supposed to be he was in Hawaii. It never happened. So there you go. That would have been very weird. There's a lot of history on it if you want to read that up across the web.
Yes.
And that is IGN actually has a cool little story about that.
Nice.
So but in this movie, after a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River, still haunted by Beetlejuice. Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter, Astrid, accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. This is 104 minutes long. Budget of 100 million. Box office currently at 145 million, which is going to set some September records. The cast, like I said, primarily all return except for Jeffrey, the guy
Jeffrey
we don't
Jones.
speak his name. Yes, we don't
Jeffrey
speak his name. He
Jeffrey
shows
J.
up in spirit is the best way to say it.
And that was done wonderfully in this film. We'll get a little bit more into that.
Yes,
I think
very fun.
they really did a lot of fun with that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the newest characters are Jenna Ortega, played by playing Astrid Dietz, Justin Theroux playing Rory, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, Arthur Conti, Nick Kellington, Santiago Cabrera, Bern Gorman, and Danny DeVito in a watch it or you'll miss it role.
Well,
So
it wasn't that short, but yes, it was very minor.
It was a nice little cameo, which I really enjoyed it. I will say, though, this movie had an amazing soundtrack, which is just kind of crazy how they introduced all of it. So if you check out the soundtrack, it's pretty amazing. I put the tracks in here.
Yeah.
There was a couple choices they made with the original version, a new version, which was cool, and a lot of like Italian for some reason, which was very interesting.
And we'll get into talking about, but we do learn Beetlejuice's origin in this, which I that was an interesting choice because the entire story is told in Italian language and then English subtitles, which I thought this is a direction, but I was absolutely loving it. I think it was an awesome choice.
Absolutely. So this movie, obviously you think, is this a cash in? We've had good and bad luck with the, they call them requels, but basically
legacy sequel is the term.
Legacy sequels, yeah, because it's not like we're replacing the whole cast. We brought in a couple of people, but here it is. This is much like the Ghostbusters, things like that. But this one, I think, it didn't have to happen, but Tim Burton did want to make it, and the majority of the cast was still around, excited to make it. So you kind of felt like a lot of love and excitement to make this film rather than it's just a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it would be hard to imagine after all this time gone by and the great long legacy of it that they would have been like, all right, it's time to cash in. Now, back in, if it was Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii back in 1990, that's exactly what it would feel like. Where do we even begin? I don't even know where to start.
Well, we can say basically the reason they're brought back together is the death of the father, Charles Dietz, is killed, and the way he dies, it's hilarious because it's like, to get there, Catherine O'Hara is just chewing the scenery. Obviously, from Schitt's Creek, amazing actress. She's just having a blast with this role. We've got we find out that Winona Ryder was married. Her husband died also in a tragic accident.
Right, mysterious, and that body never found. Yeah. So, and then and her ability, much like in the first film, is that she can see spirits, which she has turned into a legacy of being a corny talk show host.
Yeah, it's like those Beyond the Grave people. My
Yeah,
wife likes
exactly.
a lot of these shows, and Rory is essentially her manager, but also met her at like a grief
Yeah,
counseling
right.
retreat. Her
He's just,
daughter,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so they come back for the funeral. Rory comes along, and Jenna Ortega, playing Astrid, is essentially more on the scientific mode, a little bit more serious, but not like the goth kid.
right.
And so she
Doesn't
doesn't see
yeah,
eye to eye with her mom.
right. Doesn't
Yeah,
believe in ghosts, but she's very smart and snappy. And yeah, she attends this prep school where Catherine O'Hara's character has donated millions, so she has her own sculpture garden, which is funny. You do see one of the big hand claw sculpture from the first movie
hmm
is in the background when they go to pick her up. They drive to pick her up from school to bring her back to Winter River, to the famous house from the first film, in order to bury Charles. And again, going back to Charles, and again, we're not naming the name of the actor, but they do a great job because he dies. He goes down in a plane crash in the South Sea somewhere because
he's a bird watcher.
he's a bird watcher, which is just they find just ways to make that so funny. But it's all carried out in almost like that Wallace and Gromit claymation style.
Yes. hmm
Where the plane crashes and he doesn't die, but he's hanging onto a piece of wreckage, and a shark comes up and bites him in like bites off like the top quarter of his body, and then his body shows up
He's
in
all
the afterlife.
shoulders. He's all shoulders.
He's all shoulders, and his spine is spitting blood up. So they sneak in little bits of like gore in this that are
Yes.
like Beetlejuice
It's
stands.
corny.
Yeah,
It's hokey. It's
yeah.
goofy.
He stands up at one point and says, he's conducting when he is engaged with our main characters, he's doing a faux counseling session, and he says, "Who wants to spill their guts?" And he says, "All right, I'll go first." He stands up, and all the guts shoot out of him. Just
Yeah,
but
that's Beetlejuice.
yeah,
Yep.
it's just every corner of it is fun. So anyway, all right, so we're at the plot. They pick her up for this funeral, and they're back in the town around the house. All the characters are there. What happens then?
Yeah, so it's interesting how they're all going to grieve. Delia has decided that she's going to make this a big deal. She puts a shroud on the house.
Right.
Winona Ryder, Lydia is like not sure where she fits in with all this. Sad about her dad dying. She's also not come to grips with her husband passing away. She has Rory, who is just a bag of weird.
He's a mooch. It's an emotional
and
mooch.
Yep, and Jenna Ortega is not getting along with her mother. She just wants to go back, and so she decides to check out town. She's on a bike ride. It goes awry, and she runs into Dreamy Treehouse.
Yes,
And
Dreamy McTree.
so boy, that all of a sudden they click. He's
Right.
into like all the cool stuff, the crime and punishment. He's aloof, but he likes to have fun.
Right.
And so now Delia or Astrid is now like, oh, this isn't too bad where they're at. So this is kind of where it goes. Hijinks start to ensue though when essentially Astrid goes up into the attic and finds the layout of the town, and she sees basically a guide to the dark side with Beetlejuice on it.
Just a
she
flyer.
sees,
Yeah, right.
she says, "What is this?" And her mother finds her, and she starts almost saying the whole thing, and she stops her from saying the third time.
Right.
So, and she doesn't know why, but also Lydia's seeing Beetlejuice, like the vision of Beetlejuice around town. Right. So she's obviously still traumatized and things like that. And then they kind of split it off where we do get a secondary story, which is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is like, I couldn't figure out. So Beetlejuice is like running a business. I don't know. Like, is it tourism? Is what he does?
Or it was a call. It was like a call center, customer service.
Yeah.
But all of his, he has minions in this, which are the which
shrunken head guys.
Yeah, the shrunken head guys, which we saw in the waiting room of the first film. Bob, but they're all, and it's funny because they all get a call out in the credits. So it's like Bob, Tom, Bill, Jason. Like it was just, and none of them speak because their mouths are all so shut, and they have the little shrunken head, but they have giant sized bodies. So it's but yeah, he's running a business. Shoot away to the bowels, the Area 51, where you have a janitor who's a dead guy drinking bleach, who is Danny DeVito. knocks over a crate, and a bunch of body parts fall out, and these body parts start to put themselves back together.
It's
using
electrocuted because of his, he's cleaning the floor, his
Right.
thing electrocutes, and it brings this body back to life, played by Monica Bellucci,
Oh, mama.
played Dolores. She puts her, basically staples herself back together,
Right.
and we find out that she is a succubus.
Yeah, she's a vampire.
Soul sucker.
Yeah, when she sucks the soul out of someone, they turn into basically a suitcase. They just kind of cripple up, which she does. Unfortunately later on to another character that was
Too many characters. Yeah,
Yes,
it's pretty funny. They get kind of squished, which is very comedic. They look very adorable at that point. And then we find out that there is Afterworld Cops, and it is played by the main Wolf Jackson detective, played by Willem Dafoe.
He's basically
who's an actor.
It's basically like Joe Don Baker. What's that Joe Don Baker movie series they always spoofed on MST3K? I'm struggling with it. It was
Walking Tall.
No, it was. He had a series where it was like a one-word name. I know, somebody who's a listener, look it up for me, please.
But he's basically playing a police detective, and he has a squad of people, and basically he's playing the role of a cop because he was an actor, and he's investigating why the janitor died, and so now they've got to find out this woman and track her down, and that leads to another side story, which you find out that's actually Beetlejuice's ex-wife, and then we get the origin of Beetlejuice, which is very fun.
I absolutely loved it. So yeah, we found out that Beetlejuice back in Italy, I'm assuming during the time of the rat plague across Europe, was a grave robber. And through this, he meets Dolores, and they immediately fall in love, and they have this big ceremony, whatever. But she is, she's the devil. She's a succubus. She poisons him with their first drink. But as he's dying, he happens to find an axe and obviously chops her up into bits, and they're both dead. But he goes on to the afterlife to become the character we know, where she ends up in
trapped in a box, several boxes.
Bits and pieces in a box.
I'm guessing Beetlejuice did that. I'm guessing he trapped her away, put her in boxes, and said, "Yeah, I'm done." But it was all done in Italian, which I thought was very funny, voiced over, very unique. Their ceremony was hilarious because it's like, oh yeah, we drank the blood, bit off heads of chickens, and had a sacrificial goat. Very, very, very,
all the things everybody remembers from their wedding night, without a doubt. Yeah. I cannot find the name of this Joe Don Baker character, so I'm gonna need somebody to help me out because it's driving me nuts. But I'll figure it out eventually.
Joe. Yes,
it was Joe. It was Joe.
Yeah.
So from there, Astrid is with Dreamy McDreamy. It's Halloween night, and they're going to hang out, but then they share a kiss. Then all of a sudden, when she opens her eyes from the kiss, they're levitating. He's a ghost, which April figured out long before I did.
Yeah.
I did not figure that. Yeah. But it was, but as April pointed out, the boy sitting in the, because he was hanging out in the treehouse. When they walk inside, you see his parents, but you don't see their faces because we later then find out something else about this boy.
Yes. Along the way, so Lydia goes up to the attic again, and Rory finds her and says, I know you're struggling along the way, because he actually proposed to her in front of everybody during the wake.
Oh, yes.
And it went wrong. So she's like not dealing with it well. So he finds her up in the attic. And when that happens, Rory says, we need to confront your demons. This guy is not real. So he essentially summons Beetlejuice. They go to the basically the marriage counselor with Beetlejuice, and
the guts.
And Justin Theroux freaks out. He passes out. And at this point, Lydia's like, I got to get the F out of here. So they say, home, 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 move back. Right. And then they basically get out of there. Rory, I don't think, still believes it. And she locks it up. So, yes.
So anyway, back in the attic of the dead kid's room, he is talking to Astrid about, well, if you come to the afterlife with me, there's a ceremony that we can do where you can bring me back to life. And unfortunately, and they're opening the door, but back at the house, and it was, I believe this was the same actress, or at least it was the same character from the first film that was a relative of, I think, Alec Baldwin's character. It is explained that Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's character were able to, through a loophole, move on. But this was the sister of one of their two characters who was trying to sell their house, and did sell their house after they died. She said, la, 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 Winona Ryder's character, who's
Lydia.
Lydia, mentions in dialogue that Astrid is hanging out with this boy, and our realtor friend says, "Oh, that's the house I was never able to sell because it's a murder house." And he was like, "What?" Yeah, this
And the
kid freaked
kid
out.
killed his mother or his
He
parents.
killed both of his parents, and she was like, "Oh, I guess I better go pick her up." And so then Lydia busts into the house, and just in time to obviously see that the one parent has the mom has like a egg beater sticking out of her eye, and the dad has a power saw in between his eyes, and she runs up, and it's too late because Astrid and Dead Boy are already then in the afterlife. Meaning, how do you think Lydia's going to go after her? Probably with the
This
help.
is where it all comes
Yes,
together.
where it
Yes,
all
she
comes
has
together.
to bring Beetlejuice back. She agrees to marry him to save Astrid, and that's where hijinks ensue into the underworld.
Right.
They all go, and yeah, it gets fun because it's basically you get some comeuppance. There is basically a Astrid reunites with the mother, but then dues has to be paid
Right.
with the wedding.
Right. But before we get there, in the afterlife, they do find Lydia's deceased husband, who is covered. He was, because he was in the Amazon or whatever, and his boat capsized, he was eaten by piranha. So he appears as that. And I had to look this up afterwards. That is the actor who played Captain Rios in Star Trek Picard. Same dude.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
couldn't even tell.
No beard, so
No
you couldn't tell.
accent, no nothing,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
accent. Yeah,
And he was
yeah,
colored. He was colored blue, so you didn't know. But yeah, there was another Star Trek guy.
yeah. And that was part of like the animosity with Astrid is she's like, you have this power to see the dead, and yet you've never seen Dad. What's
Right.
going on?
Right.
And so we don't know why he's been trapped in the underworld, basically being a ticket taker. So essentially, the dad, the mother get reunited to save Astrid. Beetlejuice does keep his word and takes care of our little D-bag Jeremy, the
Right.
serial killer. Yeah, but we still have to pay his dues with Beetlejuice with the
Right.
wedding, as we said. And this sequence has got weird because they bring
Yeah.
out the cake.
Well,
And what do they play, Charlie?
don't
Oh.
forget. Let's not also forget that Catherine O'Hara's character also died. So she's part of the underworld contingency because she had ordered some snakes to perform like a ceremony.
Coral snakes, yeah.
Yeah, that were supposed to be defanged and they weren't, so she's killed instantly. So now she's on the dead side. But yes, oh my god. So there's a wedding song, which is one of my absolute favorites. And again, there's two versions represented on
Really?
the soundtrack. Yeah, well, I'll explain to you why, and I'll have you go listen to it, and I think you'll agree. But the first version of this listed here in the soundtrack is by Donna Summer, disco queen of the 1970s, and then Richard Harris, who was he a Britpopper from the 1960s? The song, regardless, the song is MacArthur
Oh, I
Park.
thought it was the actor Richard Harris. They got him to sing it back in the
He
day.
was the original one. But the penultimate version of the song was done by Detroit, Michigan's own The Four Tops. Listen to it. It's breathtakingly beautiful. But anyway,
Oh, and also the Weird Al version, Jurassic Park, is
very good.
a great one.
But this is fun. I would put this up against any of the Harry Belafonte.
Oh my God. It originally was first recorded by Irish actor and singer Richard Harris. So Dumbledore!
Oh my
Dumbledore
God.
sang this song, Charlie.
I would have not guessed that in a million years. But this, Four Tops, like I said, Four Tops, MacArthur Park, look it up. You will not be sorry that you did.
So odd.
So I would put this sequence above any of the Harry Belafonte sequences from the first film. I got to be honest with you.
Weird.
It's this weirdness that sells it because there's a huge wedding cake, and of course the most memorable lyric from that song is "Someone left cake out in the rain." And and they're lip syncing along, and then you have Catherine O'Hara and Jenna doing this like interpretive dance choreography to it. I was loving on it. I think it was one of the best parts of the film. It was so much fun.
Yes.
But yes, we get to the end of it. The tables are turned. Monica Dolores shows up, and it's revealed that what a scammer Justin Theroux's character is. And we got to get this Astrid uses the opportunity to summon the it's not the Sand Snake. which is it was
Yep.
it was very similar to what happened at the end of the film. The sand snake eats that way. In that case, Beetlejuice. In this case, it consumes Dolores and Rory, and evil is
Dolores.
punished. Yeah, Dolores, female body part.
Name. Yes.
The Seinfeld,
Yes.
Seinfeld's girlfriend. Yes, exactly. Oh, so yeah, so that so at this, everyone is at peace. Mother and daughter who have been estranged kind of come back together. We have to say goodbye to Catherine O'Hara's character, and but the marriage agreement gets pulled out, but again, loophole, null and void, because you've taken to what was it? They were taken to the afterlife against their will or something. What was the loophole?
He took a human to the afterlife.
Right, exactly. So that negated the contract. So she gets off scot-free, and yeah, all is well.
And Beetlejuice is disposed of, and at this point, we are left with the afterlife police go away, and yeah,
Right.
I mean, and Tim Burton has already said if there's going to be a sequel, it'll be in 37 years, and I will be dead again. So he'll be in the afterlife.
Oh, but again, this movie is proving to be enormously successful. Like you said, your box office estimate was in the neighborhood of 150K, which I think is pretty great for post summer. K? MM, sorry.
150,000?
150,000 a minute.
Big M. Big
Yes,
M.
Big M.
Not
Big
little
M.
M. Yes.
Two little M's is million.
Yep.
MM.
Yep.
So yeah. My gosh. So final thoughts before we give it a rating. I just had a blast. Oh my God.
I had a blast, but I do feel like the Dolores storyline was just kind of like, it felt like it was doing its own thing, like barely set up and barely involved in it.
Yeah,
she showed up on occasions.
She didn't do much.
That was definitely a plot device versus like it felt like part of the story that needed to happen, quite honestly.
Well, I mean, they needed to trying to set things up from all angles. I was glad when they snuck in the dad, because I'm like, oh well, what if he wasn't?
Yeah,
dead?
that was a fun part. Yeah,
that was good sneak in. And again, the part with the boy being the villain, and of course, Beetlejuice does get rid of him. That happens quite handily. He gets sent to hell because Beetlejuice does the Jabba the Hutt thing and pushes the button and he falls through the floor. Yeah, you're right. The Monica Bellucci. I mean, it's great to see Monica Bellucci because she's fantastic.
I mean, it could have been a little bit longer, and they could have played a little bit around with that gimmick. But I mean, they could have still had the character in there, told her story, but didn't have to be like she didn't have to be a threat. But
right.
It is what it is. I enjoyed the movie. I had a blast. It was a little bit weirder because they had like the Soul Train, which I thought was okay. I didn't care for that part as much. That felt a little bit okay.
It's a little tacked on. I loved Willem. We had a lot more characters in this. So Willem Dafoe's kind of Joe Don Baker, and I love that his police force was basically the CHP, California Highway Patrol. So it was
SWAT.
Wearing those outfits. That was fun. So enjoyable. I think if we're gonna rate this out of 1 out of 10 Shrunken Heads, there you go. And R.I.P. Bob, because he is killed by Dolores. But yes, out of 1 out of 10 Shrunken Heads, I'll swing with like an 8. I had a ton of fun, but yeah, you're right. The inclusion of the Dolores character was kind of like, meh. It wasn't really driving the bus, and what did it really accomplish at the end of the day? But it's discountable as far as a negative because the movie was so much fun.
Yeah, I'll do 7 3/4 because Shrunken Head's not exactly a full size, so I'm gonna do that because I did enjoy it. I think, except for a little nitpick, I think it did it well. It could have been a disaster, and I thought it was fun.
And I was going to say I would even boost it a little higher because again, legacy sequels are such a mixed bag. It's more than likely it's going to be a waste. But I can think of 2, this and Top Gun Maverick, that I think have really delivered in the last 5 years. I would say, my opinion, unless I'm forgetting.
Oh, Alien. We liked Alien Romulus a lot, even though it was a little bit different interquel.
Yeah, that was more of a continuation as opposed to if it was one with Ripley in it. I'm talking about one that it's like the original movie. This was 36 years between.
Yeah, the requel. Bringing back new cast and doing things like that.
Exactly.
So,
I think
good time.
Good stuff.
Just what we needed. Something in time for spooky season. Thank God this didn't come out in June because that seems wrong.
Yeah, exactly correct. All right. Well, this is where I would normally outro the show, but we're doing things so out of order that now it's time to wrap it up. I've got out my Air Qantas app. It is time to get to the land down under. Tina, hologram Tina, pardon me, RIP. Maybe she's just Afterlife Tina. What do you think? She's up there with Beetlejuice and the
She's a
mutants.
hologram.
Hologram. They're waiting for us to give you the dish on the end of Summer Movies 2024 and the famous Gijor powered Wager Todd. I won't reveal the results, but it could be a surprise. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we are talking about the Summer of Movies of 2024 box office wager finally results. We are recording this on September 3rd when the summer is officially over for the movies. So I've gathered here special guest Jonathan Cyr joining us for our movie wager.
Yeah, how many years have we done this now?
2016. Yes, we took a year off, and we did something weird that year, didn't we? Like, we'll bet on. Didn't we bet on like NHL or something?
We bet on the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, which was like, okay. This was like, do you know that I won the Sweet 16 at the State News one year when I was at MSU just by guessing? So I don't feel like I won that year though. Who won that year?
I actually won that year. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
We randomly assigned teams that were in the playoffs to each of us, and whoever won. It was
Gotcha. As opposed to Anyway, as opposed to this.
Regardless of talking about past things, the reason we're here is talk about our summer movie wager. It is inspired by the summer movie wager that I first learned about from the Slash Film podcast. They do this every year where they look at how the box office will perform by position in the top 10. We only look at numbers that deliver in the domestic level, and then we do our pre-wagers the week before the big movie this summer starts. For us this year, it was
first week of May. Yeah, that's right. That was the first one. I think that charted anyway, but I think that was the first week. Yeah.
So we pick the movies in order of how they'll perform. If you get them dead on in order, you get 13 for the first, 10 for each pick you get spot on. If you get the 10th pick, you get 13 points. And basically, if you are away from your, pick, so say you picked Inside Out number 3, you're awarded a certain number of points away from the position that it would be.
I can read it if you want. I have it right up in front of me. So as you had said, number 1 or number 10 is 13 points, which is what you said. 10 points for numbers 2 through 9, dead on. 7 points if your pick was 1 spot away from where it ended up. 5 points if it was 2 spots away. 3 points if it was anywhere in the top 10. And you said scoring is tabulated based on single highest point value, i.e. get number 10 right, you don't get 13 plus 3, you only get 13. So it's complicated but simple.
It's accuracy. That's the number one thing. Getting the movie in the right spot is the right points. We do award a dark horse 3 points for a movie. Yes. Yeah. If you pick a movie that does perform in the top 10 that you didn't have in your top 10, you get 3 points for that as well.
Woohoo!
So this was a long summer. It was a mixture of failures and wins. Overall, the way the box office started this year, there was concerns that essentially we thought that this was going to be one of the worst box offices of all time.
No, that was last year.
Underperformed. We had Furiosa underperform. We had movies going to digital 3 weeks after release, including Fall Guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big concern. But the biggest savior of the box office this year was a little movie about a teenager's emotions, Inside Out 2. $650 million domestic has now finally achieved global box office to the number 9th spot.
Wow. Even in this day and age, it's crazy with as much as things have changed, with streaming and everything, to think that something could still chart like that and compete with something even from 5 years ago, like Endgame, which is like, it's $1.5 billion or something. So it's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, other surprises this summer were, I don't think Wolverine Deadpool were a surprise at all.
Mm-hmm.
Despicable Me was not a surprise. But John, What was the big like? Holy crap! Nobody saw that coming movie.
Well, the one that has ruined my summer was It Ends With Us. But
Yeah,
Twisters, I think, was probably the one that forget about Ends With Us because it did okay, but Twisters really performed.
right.
I did not see that one coming.
It was Glenn Powell's butt, which showed up more than once. Still in jeans, but definitely his butt.
Well, the funny thing about that movie, apparently people overseas did not see that movie either. So, despite it performing very well, it was dismal overseas. So that movie
Wow.
will probably not get a sequel because it essentially did like less than $40 million overseas.
Wow, I guess they do not have bad weather over in China, which is that's
I
great
don't
news.
think I don't think twisters are a thing anywhere else.
Yeah,
Apparently, only in the U.S.
yeah.
We get tsunamis. If they change it
I
to
guess
tsunami,
Two tsunamis.
Glenn Paulo drove his truck in the middle of the ocean.
Right. Make it
Maybe that
relatable.
will work.
Exactly. So you got to move it to Mexico or something so you can drive off the Baja coast exactly. Into tsunami.
Yeah, this is the sad part. Well, I'll tell you, it's funny because it says movie ticket sales were down 29% until Bad Boys Ride or Die jump started the box office.
So
Bad
random.
Boys, Ride or Die. Once
that-
again,
And that was one of the three that I didn't see because I saw the majority of these. If I saw on streaming, because I'm looking at our top 10 here. But yeah, Bad Boys I skipped. I was like, oh, maybe we should go see it. But I'm like, they're so old. It's sad because they're older than us. So it's like seeing out there like pew pew pew, and I'm like, I just wasn't doing it for me.
Wait, are you sure you didn't see it? That sounds about right.
that sounds about right. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence joking about being too old for the shit.
Yes, and they are.
Something about probably getting like some acid reflux, probably.
Prostate exam, without a doubt, at over age 50. No,
exactly. And if this box office had won one more week, it would have definitely changed everything because Alien Romulus would have probably overtaken, gotten to the top 10. And It Ends With Us would have probably overtaken another movie, which would have completely changed our box office, which is just crazy. August films coming in out of nowhere to really
it's real weird, yeah,
to change the day, yeah. And we did have one movie that I think a lot of people didn't have a lot of faith in, A Quiet Place Day One, basically a prequel, did very well, as well. Any other movies stick out to you that were like, wow, I can't believe they did that well?
Man, yeah, the Bad Boys was the one for me that I'm like, oh, there's no chance. I think I might have had it a little lower than you guys. I did think it would perform, but I didn't put it in the top 5. Yeah, I don't know. Garfield, I guess. I thought because you look at, the original film was in 2004 because I did some research yesterday. I was curious. The original film was in 2004. It was live action, less Bill Murray voicing Garfield. There was a sequel in 2016. I think it was, with also Bill Murray back for that one. And I thought, well, that was, 8 years ago. Nobody's really going to care. Garfield was comic strip when we were kids, so 40 years ago. I didn't think there'd be any audience for it. So that surprises me. Garfield did.
I would say a couple things. So I had Garfield in 10th. So it finishing 11th doesn't really hit me as a surprise. It Ends With Us is definitely like, never saw that coming.
Yeah,
I would say also Inside Out 2, just how much it made, that was a surprise.
Big time.
And then one that didn't place at all, but it's just kind of another spot or two down from, Alien Romulus, was Longlegs.
Oh, great flick.
That
Flick.
actually, it didn't make the top 10 and it wasn't really ever threatening to sneak in there, but I think that was a pretty good performer that was unexpected.
It reminds me, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, of like Longlegs, so those summer horror films sneaking in there's a taste for it, without a
usually
doubt.
one gets in there.
Yeah. So that's what I'm counting on for, Meg 3GAN 2.0 next summer.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm talking
M.
for.
Night Shyamalan movie didn't.
Yeah.
place.
It was, it was terrible, but that doesn't really mean it's not going to place.
Well, no, but he typically gets a win every once in a while, and it just surprises. So
Yeah.
it's been a very weird summer. The three biggest, I would say, probably the top disappointing films were Furiosa.
Ugh.
Coming off a very impressive Fury Road, we thought that was going to do well with Anya Taylor-Joy, who's just like America's sweetheart. We had Horizon. An American Saga.
Oh,
Kevin
they didn't even
Costner.
they didn't even put out the second one. It was so dismal.
No, there was no I thought there was going to be some counter programming where we get the old people in. Like last year, we had Oppenheimer, that wanted to see destruction and things like that. But apparently, there's no buzz even after all of the Yellowstone.
Yeah, Todd, I'm
excitement.
telling you, the enemy pickleball. I'm sorry, it keeps coming back to pickleball. That's
There
what
was
the
no
old people are
pickleball
doing.
in any of these films either, Charlie.
You're right, exactly. If it
Yeah.
would have been Kevin Costner getting off his horse and then walking out of that pickleball court, play some skinny singles or maybe do some dinking.
So that's a problem. The old folks are too busy playing pickleball to go to the movie.
That's what I'm saying. That's what my dad's doing 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wasn't sure either, but so are you saying they needed to release it when it was cold weather out? So
Yeah, that had to be a winter movie if
wouldn't
they
be-
really want to have that make it, because
but
people
then
don't
they'll
play
just set up,
indoors as much.
courts in their basement. Then they'll set courts up at the VFW.
Well, here you go.
Yeah.
You need a spiritual successor to dodgeball. For
pickleball.
pickleball, and it'll
How
just
about
be
balls of-
gangbusters.
Well, they did. They made Balls of Fury.
Balls of Fury.
Yeah, you bet. I'm telling you
Christopher Walken.
guys, it's
Yeah.
bigger than you think. But I digress.
Yeah. Yes. And then we also had Harold in the Purple Crayon, Zach Levi. He is done in Hollywood.
Yeah,
This
he's
movie
toast.
didn't even. I mean, it's just horrible. And then we obviously had the Borderlands, which Borderlands is the biggest drop piece of crap in the world because of the movie. I thought was okay, not the worst thing in the world, but the budget and the performance it had, and already on digital. That
So
is one of the
upside
worst
down.
films performances ever.
Yeah,
Wow.
big time. Until we get to The Crow, which I think did like Gem and the Holograms movie number, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but The Crow only had a $50 million budget. So
Yeah, you're right.
Borderlands had $180 million.
Oh, yeah, that ROI
That's a
really
big
burns.
difference. Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
big
The
burn.
Crow will probably break even on VOD. I don't know about Horizon. Horizon only made $30 million and $50
And Kevin Costner threw all of it away to make these movies. But
He
I
got
tell you,
divorced. and
it's
got half
water.
his assets to make that
It's
movie.
Waterworld all over again. That's what it is for
And
him.
he
this
left
guy.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, I know exactly. He just pissed it all away. So yeah, for his passion project. Oh, anyway,
so those are some of the context. So that we are down from last year's box office, but obviously Barbenheimer and Oppenheimer were a big deal. We have Guardians of the Galaxy this year. We really didn't have. I mean, we had a one-of-a-kind type of superhero film with Wolverine, Deadpool, which I mean, it was projected to be huge. I think people thought that was going to be the number one movie of the film.
I did.
Movie of the summer, and it almost was.
47 million. Ironically, 47. Ironic for me, anyway. So yeah, it's a burn.
Well, if you would have told me it would make, what did it end up at? $5.99 or a little over $6?
$6.03.
If you would have told me Deadpool Wolverine would make $600 million, that would have definitely been number one. I mean, Inside Out 2, eclipsing that by another 50 is just.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. But again, like all things with the box office, I think it's all about what resonates, and that is as tough to put a pin on as anything. It's not like I put together a faux bracket for next year just by knowing what movies will actually be out, and it's all bullshit. I have no idea. Will Superman really resonate next year, or will people say, well, The Flash sucked, I'm not going to see another DC movie? Who knows? But it's Superman, so who the hell is to say?
Would you guys say, just as popped in my head right now, do you think there was any Top Gun Maverick effect that pushed up, say, Twisters and Bad Boys? Because
I mean, I don't know that people looked
not
at
directly, but
Top Gun Maverick and thought, oh, I saw that because of Glenn Powell. You think, well, I know Tom Cruise and my parents love the original or whatever.
I'm thinking of it from the perspective of Maverick may have alleviated a little bit of the hesitancy of old reboots,
Right.
This actually turned out really good, so maybe more people give it more of a chance, or maybe they've started making them. I don't know. I didn't see Twisters or Bad Boys, so I don't know why they resonated.
That's fair. Yeah, the Bad Boys.
And of course, this week I'm going to go see Beetlejuice. There's another one.
Right.
And apparently, I mean, I thought Will Smith, after coming off the slap.
Yeah, it's pretty toxic.
His first big movie since were people going to still come to see him? But that seems like a little bit of chicken soup for the soul in regards to a comfort movie for a lot of people.
Yeah, because it's the fourth film
was
of the
last big movie going into the pandemic. It was like literally in February that movie came out, was huge.
The third one,
and then pandemic hit. So it's
so people thinking, well, it feels a little bit more normal. That's a good point. That's a
Yeah,
good
and
point.
Beetlejuice is predicted to do like 125 to 150 million
Yeah,
dollars.
I'm excited to see it. Yeah, I know we're seeing it this later this week. Yeah.
So let's get to it. I will break down the official performance of these movies of 2024. In the 10th spot, The Fall Guy, a movie I absolutely love, John. I think it's one of the streaming services I highly recommend it. I think it's a really
Yeah.
fun movie.
Big fun.
I would say Fall Guys, $92.9 million. And the fun part was between 10th and 12th, they were only separated by a total of $1.8 million.
So weird, but that's numbers, man. Numbers
Yeah.
are weird.
Exactly. If at number 9, one of the only original films on this list, $111 million came out in the middle of, the beginning of May.
Yeah.
It ends
Watch-
with Us.
Already watched it on streaming, if that is.
Yep. It ends with Us, basically based on a book. Apparently, there's a lot of drama behind some
so
of the
much.
creators
Yeah.
of this movie. $135 million. Big deal about a domestic abuse movie.
Yeah.
Very
Good old
cool.
summer fun.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool to see like an era where books can actually be popular again, where it hasn't been that way in a long time.
Right.
A Quiet Place Day One, a prequel, $138 million. So once again, if that had gone another week, we would have probably had that at number 7, but it didn't. It ends with Us.
Number 8.
Top skipped over that, and got to number 7. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, kind of a very, I would say, disappointing, $171 million.
Yeah, it's pretty lackluster. It wasn't great. Yeah.
Bad Boys Ride or Die, 192. This is where the separation starts. Twisters, $260 million based on the power of Glenn Powell's smile and his truck.
In his butt. Just saying.
Then we get to Despicable Me 4. People can't get enough of the Minions. This movie did a huge overseas.
I mean, my wife can because she doesn't just let us go see these. She's like, no Minions.
Well, I don't like the Minions movies. I do like Despicable Me. But it's very fun. $355 million. Then obviously we get to the top 2. Deadpool and Wolverine, $603 million.
Snicked.
And Inside Out 2, $650 million. The number 9 biggest movie of all time. I assume dwarfing the original by probably close to $500 million.
Yeah, I was wondering because I mean, one of us would have to look it up real quick, but I don't remember that being gargantuan when that came out in 2019, 2018? This is a while back. Or at least it feels like it was.
There's only a way to find that number out.
Oh, could it be the internet?
Internet, eh?
They have that
$159 million.
Oh my God!
$800 million difference between
that's
the first movie and the second.
That's completely insane. Oh my God!
It doesn't happen, folks. Okay, so that's how the box office ended. So, I guess we got to get to. We'll start with the worst first.
The worst.
That would be me.
Right.
That would be me. The worst first, with a total of 49 points. I had Garfield as my dark horse, 0 points. If at number 10 was 7 points. Horizon American Saga, 0 points.
Horrible Horizon.
Twisters at number 8, 3 points. Pity points, as I call them. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, 7 points.
The 3 points are the at least you tried points, yeah.
Exactly.
Right. The cake in the trash. Thanks, Bart.
Furiosa Mad Max Saga, 0 points at number 6. A Quiet Place Day 1, 5. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, 7 points. Inside Out 2, number 3 at 5 points. Deadpool and Wolverine, 10 points.
Nice.
My only perfect score. Despicable Me 4, 5 points. So,
woohoo!
Only one perfect score. Okay, that's 49 points. Okay, then we go with John. Second place, gets to kiss the pig. John got 50 points.
It ends with us. It's all their fault.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those women or the woman.
John took less of a try on it, but it still failed. Horizon Chapter 1, Dark Horse, 0 points. Garfield movie, 0 points at number 10.
No,
Twisters, 3 points. Number 9. The Fall Guy, number 8, 5 points. Furiosa Mad Max sequel, 0 points. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, 10 points. Spot on, John.
Hey, I got one.
Hey,
And then
are you ape
John
for
and
apes?
I, this was the joke. John and I duplicated our top 5,
Oh,
which is so weird. We were
You
like,
copied my work, I'm sure of it.
oh, I did. Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't look
I'm like,
before
what
the
are you
end.
doing over there? I'm not looking at your paper. And obviously, John, I'll never copy from you again.
Yeah, same.
Yes, you will.
Okay, 50 points for John. My goodness. Then we go to Charlie Carden. I assume he was cheating him off of somebody else. But
Oh, sorry, did I
Charlie
do that?
had his dark horse 0 points, which is Borderlands.
Oh,
Fall Guy. This
so
is where
painful.
Charlie separated himself. Essentially, this is what
This is what won it.
This is what won it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
13
because-
points for the Fall Guy.
Yeah,
Number
you
One
take,
10.
more week. Fall Guy falls out. He gets no points for that.
He falls off. Yeah,
And Alien Romulus comes up, and that would have gotten Charlie 7 points.
yeah,
So it would have been
exactly.
a gap of 6. I don't know, John. Would have done enough?
No, because
no,
you were
here's
42 and 50.
here's
So-
what needed to happen. It didn't matter if Alien passed Fall Guy. All that mattered is once Garfield dropped out, I lost 13 points.
Right.
That's true.
So it ends with us. Really was the one that did
Really,
it.
really ended with Garfield. Is
Because
what you're
Garfield
saying.
would have made it at 10, and there would have been a 13-point swing.
And if it ends with us, would that have done enough to knock it out of the Quiet Place? That would have got him down to what, 5? Or would that got him 10 on that? I'm trying to remember the positioning.
I'm not sure. All I remember when I looked at,
At
it
this
was
point, it doesn't
it
matter.
wasn't going
Yeah.
to make a difference. It was just he
No.
would have won still, but just by a little less. That's all it would
It
have.
would have been less embarrassing. Yes.
Yeah.
We go to the Fall Guy, 13 points. That was the big winner for Charlie. Alien Romulus, 0 points.
Boo.
At number 9. Twisters, 3. At number 8. And number 7, Furiosa Mad Max Saga, 0.
Sorry, Anya.
Quiet Place Day 1 at number 6, 7 points. Bad Boys 4, a big old 10 points right there for Charlie.
Didn't even see it.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at number 4 with 5 points. Charlie nailing it again with Despicable Me, 4 with 10 points. Number 2, Pixar's Inside Out, 2 with 7 points, and Deadpool and Wolverine at 7 points. So Charlie got 3 spot on. That is how you do it, folks. If you get that, you're feeling good.
It's actually more fun when you get number 10, because there was one year I got number 10, which had me win. It's a mixture of really, really lucky, but you feel really smart when you kind of fall into that 10th. Because 10th is harder to get than first, I think.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, right, yeah, because it's so random and so many different things can change it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the top 2 are super close, because even look here, they're $47 million apart. Not to say that they couldn't be, but they just don't tend to be. So yeah, but 10th, yeah, like you said, look at our bottom 3 were apart by less than $2 million.
Yeah. So John had 3 zeros. Charlie had 3 zeros. And I had 3 zeros. But the where you got them really mattered. But yeah, not having anything hit that, it's kind of sucky. I don't know the most misses we've ever had, but this has got to be one of them, right?
This is at least
Summers.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, last summer felt, because I blew it out so bad with Indiana Jones, because I voted with my heart, not my head. Last summer was the biggest disappointment to me personally.
You might need to look back at 2021. That
Yeah.
might have been I don't remember, but that would be a good contender for nobody knowing what to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we were just coming out of actual lockdown, which happened the
And
previous
this is
year.
funny. So, John,
Yeah.
you had 50 points this year. You had 41 last year. I won with what did I win with?
44, 45. It was just real slim.
It was pretty low, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had Oppenheimer at number 10, and I had Barbie as my dark horse. Is that funny?
Oh,
And then Charlie, you had
God.
Elemental as your dark horse, so that actually turned out pretty well for you. But you had Indiana Jones and Dial Destiny as your number 1.
Oof.
and the Flash at
Ugh.
number 5. So there
Oh
you
my
go.
God.
You know,
Hey, you know what? You
lessons
redeemed
learned.
yourself this year, Charlie.
I know. I feel good. I'm excited to have Shizor come home. I get to take him to where he came from and show him to the owners of Argo. So I'm very excited. Todd, I expect that in the mail tomorrow. So get on it.
It'll show up in 3 different boxes.
It'll show up in 3 to 8 business weeks.
And
3
if it
different boxes.
smells funny, I don't know why.
I know I can't trust Postal Service. I understand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I always blame my postal service when I
Pee on
make
something.
Sure
Yeah, I get it.
a special
Shizor.
delivery happens.
Yeah, special delivery. Shizor and
There's
some poo.
special
I got it.
pheromones in that box, Charlie. Don't
God.
pay any attention to
It's
it.
my it's
And
my
some
scent.
Stinkolator to it. Yeah, Stinkor. I applied that special finish.
Oh,
So
no.
next year we're gonna have next year's gonna be a little different because I don't think we have a consensus number 1 because a lot of the movies that are going to be coming out are going to be a lot of superhero films, and unfortunately they're going to be a lot of second attempts, some resurrection by Marvel to see if it works.
Right.
It will be very, very interesting.
And I'll give you a rundown of what I at least put together. Films being Superman, Fantastic Four, Elio, which is a Pixar film, Thunderbolts, asterisk, Jurassic World 4 with Scarlett Johansson, Insidious 6, M3 GAN 2.0, Mission Impossible 8. Let's remember that the last one did really shitty. And the Naked Gun movie, which I thought, you know what, it could be a runaway comedy, but that's 9, and I didn't even have anything for a 10 and for a dark horse. I just threw those in there willy nilly. So who the hell knows? We're still a year away.
Seems very sus. That seems very much a
yeah. There's nothing to them. So we will find out. And a lot of these, because it's funny, I copied and pasted, is untitled Disney film, untitled Warner Brothers film, untitled Warner Brothers event film, untitled Sony/Marvel live action. It's just, who knows? Stuff with dates, but you just don't know what any of it means.
Are there any more book adaptations from the author who did It Ends With Us that we can throw in?
Todd, you'll like this untitled Matt Stone and Trey Parker musical. There you go.
What?
Book of Mormon.
Are we getting the Book of Mormon on?
I hope so. That could
would
be your number 1.
Oh,
The Bad Guys too. It's just got like stuff you haven't even heard of. Animal Friends.
Basketball the musical.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what turns up, but I'm curious. But this has been great.
They're making a sequel to Happy Gilmore apparently.
But will it just be a part of the Netflix deal? I mean,
it'll probably just go to Netflix.
Yeah,
oh well.
Adam Sandler is banished. But anyway, I'm excited. I accept your surrender. Thank you. I'm very excited.
We're gonna have a recount. There'll be official vote judges coming to my house. They may steal Zizor. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. Yes, I will refrain from all the January 6th jokes because it's just not funny.
Yes. So that is our show, folks. Actually, we changed it, Charlie. The winner's getting Trump NFT cards.
No, I pass. I don't want Iron Man Trump. No, thank you.
I'll send you a JPEG and consider it even.
No, I pass. I decline.
Yes, so that is it for our show, folks. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again in another week. And before we go, Charlie, say bye.
Bye-bye. Keep on trucking.
Say, where will people find you?
Oh, God. Well, I didn't know if this was the end of the show or the other part was the end of the show. We're doing a little mixology this week. But, Todd, where do people find you?
Oh, they find me at Threads, at Secret Friends U, at Toxtra, at Discord. Yeah, that's where they find me.
Okay. And similarly, I'm on Instagram and Threads at the C3, TheCeeThree. Also play around on Discord. Best Discord in the whole wide world is the Secret Friends Unite Discord. Don't look it up. And April, my wife and I run the United Trekkers of Michigan, just a fun place to talk about Star Trek. Don't even have to be for Michigan, but we had to call it something. John, you are a ghost. You don't do social media, so forget about that. So anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. I'm going to tell you as always, that sharing is caring. Keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Because I'm the unknown stunt man that makes Eastwood look so fine.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.